At this warehouse in central London, they're shipping out food. Really, it's crisis work. These supplies will go to people without the capacity to feed themselves. And where is this humanitarian emergency? Well, it's just down the road.
What we're seeing now is people who you wouldn't really expect to need food. You know, it's people who have lost their jobs and who are really struggling to keep up with mortgage repayments, who are seeing their homes being repossessed, who are struggling to make sense of benefit situation, and they're coming to us and saying we need help now as well.
It all goes to some 700 charities across Britain. The poor here are eating food which would otherwise go into landfill. There's actually nothing wrong with any of this food. Some of it, like this fruit juice, is very slightly past its sell-by dates. Some of it, like this pasta down here, has got very slightly bashed in transit and therefore deemed unsuitable by the supermarkets to be put on the shelves for cosmetic reasons. But the one thing all of it's got in common is that in years gone by, and to some extent now, it would otherwise have been thrown away, and yet increasingly it's being used by charities to feed the British poor. Here's one place it all ends up, feeding the children of the destitute in London. Outside school, this is likely to be their one and only daily meal. Health workers here have begun using the S word, starvation. It's a loaded term, and they don't use it lightly.
It is a starvation, it is. And if you ask them, they will tell you the truth. They will tell you, well, we haven't eaten for one day, for half a day.
And if it wasn't for that, then they wouldn't eat at home?
They wouldn't eat at home, most of them.
Suddenly, some very high-profile charity campaigners here are saying that this is becoming a full-blown crisis.
We've had children who described as toddlers drawing pictures of food on a piece of paper and swallowing that because they were so hungry. I've had a child here who was chipping away at bricks and swallowing the brick. I've had children who've been scavenging in bins for food and taking whatever they could out of the dustbins.
There are lots of things you could say about all this, but perhaps the most important is that Britain seems to be losing the mechanisms to care for its poorest. Meanwhile, children in one of the world's richest cities go hungry, while giant corporations throw millions of tons of food away because it doesn't look nice enough to be put on supermarket shelves. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera, London.
We are the members of Do It or Die. D-I, D-I, D-I. Watch us make Bimbo as easy as pie. D-I, D-I, D-I. We are tough, you bet, filled with college pep. Bring him on, we cry. D-I, D-I, D-I. B-I-M-B-O. Bimbo.
Mystic order of the
Boom boom hacha, boom boom hacha, boom boom hacha, boom boom hacha.
Wanna be a member? Wanna be a member?
No. There's the way out.
Wanna be a member? Wanna be a member?
No. Ouch! Oh, yeah, come on. Oh.
be a member? Want to be a member?
No. In there.
Hello, May. I've got a bone to pick with you.
No. Ouch. Oh. Uh-huh.
Come inside, big boy.
What a pippin'. Gulp. No.
Want to be a member?
Yes.
That was a big one. I hate it when that happens. Hey, Will? Is that you?
Of course it's me.
Can't you tell? No, not if we all look the same.
I don't.
Will, we are krill. We are meant to look the same. Not me, Bill. There's only one of me in all the world. I am one in a trillion. Where are you going? I'm leaving! I want to be free, Bill. There's no such thing as free, Will. Come on, less thinking, more swarming. I'm sick of swarming. We've been swarming all our lives. Sometimes, Will, it's like you've got a mind of your own. Tell me, Bill, what lies beyond the swarm? More swarm. And then, some more swarm. And then, Will, there's nothing but swarm. We are a swarm without end. Everything's got an end. See? I end here. That is not a happy ending. It stands to reason, Bill. If I swim against the swarm, I must eventually reach the end of the world. Yeah. Oh.
On two. But you don't tell me, okay?
What?
Two. What'd you do that for?
Baby penguin, cute, but ruthless.
Will, what are we even looking for? That's the beauty of it, my friend. I don't know. Will, please, come back. I fear the worst. I feared the worst too, Bill, because fearing the best is a complete waste of time. Oh, yeah. There! Maybe that's a black hole. They're just myths. Scary talk. Keep us in the swarm. Coming out of nowhere. Swallowing everything in its path. For something that doesn't exist, it's very impressive. So this is all we are. Lunch. To think we spent our whole lives not knowing the truth. Goodbye, Krill World.
They hurt you at home and they hit you at school. They hate you if you're clever and they despise a fool. Till you're so fucking crazy you can't follow their rules. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. When they've tortured and scared you for 20 odd years, then they expect you to pick a career. When you can't really function, you're so full of fear. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. Keep you doped with religion and sex and TV. And you think you're so clever and classless and free, but you're still fucking peasants as far as I can see. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. There's room at the top, they are telling you still. But first you must learn how to smile as you kill. If you want to be like the folks on the hill.
Hey, soldier, they're neutralized. But remember, they'll say anything to make you doubt yourself.
Don't worry, Commander. Any doubt I had got pounded out of me at the academy.
Listen up, folks. We got a way of doing things here at Sunnyside. If you start at the bottom, pay your dues, life here can be a dream come true. But if you break our rules, step out of line, try to check out early, well, you're just hurting yourself.
Woody, what did you do to him?
You all get a good night's rest. You got a full day of playtime tomorrow.
Well, if you're gonna get out, first thing you gotta get through's the doors. Locked every night, inside and out. Keys are left on a hook in the office.
Got it. What else?
Lots of his trucks patrolling all night long. Hallway, lobby, playground.
Yeah. What about the wall?
8 feet high, cinder block. No way through it. You go over or under.
That's it? Doesn't seem so bad.
It's not. Your real problem's the monkey. The monkey's the eye and he sees everything. Classrooms. Hallways. Even the playground.
should derive from the consent of the governed, not from the threat of force.
If that's what you want.
Barbie, wait! Don't do this, Lotso!
She's a Barbie doll, Ken. There's 100 million just like her.
Not to me, there's not.
Fine. Then why don't you join her?
Oh, Ken!
Everyone, listen! Sunnyside could be cool and groovy if we treated each other fair. It's Lotso. He's made us into a pyramid, and he put himself on top.
Push them in, all of them. This is what happens when you dummies try to think. We're all just trash, waiting to be thrown away. That's all a toy is. Hey, stop it! Put me down, you idiot! No, wait a minute. Take me away.
Wealth, this is according to Oxfam, of the world's 85 richest people is equal to the 3.5 billion poorest people.
It's fantastic. And this is a great thing because it inspires everybody, gets the motivation to look up to the 1% and say, I want to become one of those people. I'm going to fight hard to get up to the top. This is fantastic news, and of course I applaud it. What can be wrong with this?
Really?
Yes, really.
So somebody living on
I celebrate capitalism.
$1 a day in Africa is getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to be Bill Gates.
That's the motivation everybody needs.
Only thing between me and
I'm
that
not
guy
against
is
charity.
motivation. I just need to pull up my socks.
I am
oh,
not,
wait, I don't have socks.
Look, don't tell me that you want to redistribute wealth again. That's never going to happen, okay?
You know what? You take a simple stat like this, which is neither good nor bad. It's just a fact.
It's a celebratory stat. I'm very excited about it. I'm wonderful to see it happen. I tell kids every day, what's wrong with this?
Comes up at a cocktail party.
No, Amanda, what's wrong with this statement?
One possible response to it.
If you work hard, you might be stinking rich one day.
We're talking about people in extreme abject poverty. That's how you get 3.5 billion.
No, we're not. You were just talking about really
category.
Rich people.
No. Okay. I'm going to tell you later what you should say to this.
The myth of overpopulation originated in England in 1798, when a vicar named Thomas Malthus, who fancied himself something of a mathematician, saw that food production increased incrementally, but people reproduced exponentially. He sat down and did some simple math, and summarily decided that the world would be out of food by 1890. He blamed reduced mortality rates, and recommended killing off the have-nots of society, lest the haves starve to death. This cry was taken up by Paul Ehrlich of Stanford University in 1968, who claimed that reckless human reproduction had overwhelmed the Earth. Massive famines would result, which would destroy, best case scenario, 1/5 of humanity by the end of the 70s. And the planet would follow. This fear produced large donations for the newly created UNFPA, which thrives on an imagined crisis that has been both imminent and rescheduled again and again over the past 2 centuries. The truth of the matter is that every family on this planet could have a house, with a yard, and all live together on a landmass the size of Texas, which is really just a small corner of the planet. The population of Earth will peak in 30 years, and then start to go back down. We're not overpopulated. Do the math. From the time of the cavemen all the way until today, humanity continues to exist because each generation of people has produced another generation to replace itself. Scientists have figured out how many people need to be born each generation to replace the generation before. That number is 1 person per person. All things being equal, this creates perfect demographic balance. Since women are the only ones who can have children, replacing every person on Earth means each woman needs to have 2 children, one to replace her, and the other to replace the man, who cannot have children. The total fertility rate is the average number of children each woman in a society is having. This number shows us if a society is growing or shrinking. In developed countries, the replacement rate birth rate is 2.1 children per woman. This will keep the population stable, but even that is assuming that every woman has children, and that there are no wars, famines, or disease. In the real world, disasters happen all the time, and sadly not all children reach adulthood, especially in poor countries. This pushes their replacement rate up to 3.3 children per woman. Since not every woman wants to have children, in order to keep the population stable, some women need to have more than 2.1 children, to balance the birth rate with the women who are only having 1, or no children at all. Maintaining this balance is of the utmost importance. If society does not at least replace itself every generation, human numbers begin to fall exponentially. Economic and social problems appear as elderly people retiring begin to outnumber young people entering the workplace. This is already happening all over the developed world. Many of the world's nations are only barely replacing themselves, while a growing majority have birth rates below replacement, some as low as 1.8 or even 1.2 babies per woman. Many societies are facing a very real danger: extinction. According to believers in overpopulation, there are so many of us on the planet that food production cannot possibly keep up. However, according to both the UN's Food and Agricultural Organization and the World Food Program, there is currently enough food on the planet for everyone to be well fed. Not only that, but we're growing this food on less land than we did in the past. This is why in the United States, for example, the government can afford to pay farmers not to grow food, but instead return their farmland to the wild. Modern technology also allows us to grow food on land where it would have been impossible to do so, even a few years ago. Agricultural experts even believe that Africa, if cultivated using modern farming methods, could eventually feed the whole world, all by itself. Then why are people in many parts of the world starving? The World Food Program lists key causes of hunger, and overpopulation is not on that list. War, one of the leading causes of world hunger, destroys crops and disrupts relief efforts. Widespread poverty prevents many from buying the food that they need. And a lack of infrastructure means that there isn't a reliable way to transport food to areas that need it. This is why reducing the number of hungry people will not make the remaining people less hungry. Those who have access to the food will continue to have access to it, and those who don't will still be hungry. Reducing population will not magically cause food to be spread around equally. And blaming overpopulation for everything does nothing but distract us from the real problems that we actually have. Think about it. When human beings first showed up on this planet, there weren't very many of us. And we faced a hard life of meeting our basic needs. Chances are, early humans spent a good deal of time hungry, cold, and without shelter. That is to say, poor. According to the World Bank, poverty is when people are deprived of well-being as a result of low income and aren't able to get the basic goods that they need for survival with dignity. How did any of the human race advance beyond poverty? We kept multiplying and we formed communities. In communities, people stop spending all their time on simple survival and are able to do things like divide up tasks, share resources, and pool their mental energies to come up with creative solutions to problems. These communities started with families, then grew into extended families, entire tribes, and then finally cities and nations. So what effect has this growth had on poverty? According to demographers, a very good one. In fact, history shows that as our numbers have grown, so has our average standard of living. Scientists measure this standard in everything from per capita income to average amount of calories consumed, even average height. And all of these averages have been increasing. Even though poverty still exists, the percentage of poor people has actually decreased as population has grown. The reason for this is that human beings are not simply consumers, we are producers. This is why, over the ages, we have learned how to do things like produce more food on less land, find better energy sources, and make sure that more people have enough to eat and a roof over their heads. And this is also why, though urban poverty is still a huge problem, statistics show that the poor who move to large communities actually have better chances of rising from poverty than they did in areas where there were fewer jobs and less opportunity. For this reason, poverty is a problem that is not solved by eliminating people. Poverty has always been a problem, even when there were scarcely any people on the entire planet. People are the only proven way out of poverty. Removing them will only leave the poor right where they started. Think about it. At some point in the year 2011, the Earth will hold 7 billion people on its surface, more people than any point in recorded history. While some welcome this latest member of humanity with excitement, others with fear. When people hear that we've been adding 1 billion people every 15 years, they imagine humanity's growth to look something like this. But 1 billion people isn't as high a percentage of humanity as it used to be. For instance, imagine this roller coaster car represents 1 billion people. If we add another car, or 1 billion more people, our train has doubled in length. But if we want to double the train again, we can't just add 1 more train car. We'd have to add 2. Every time we make the train longer, 1 train car represents a smaller and smaller percentage of the train. If it takes 15 years to add each new train car, then mathematically speaking, the growth rate is slowing. In order for the growth rate to stay constant, the train would have to keep doubling every 15 years, instead of just adding 1 car. Human population growth is the same way. In 1804, the world's population hit 1 billion. By 1927, that number had doubled. But by 1960, that number had only grown by half. By 1975, it was only growing by a third, and then a fourth, and then a fifth. To see how population growth is slowing down, we look at a number called the global total fertility rate, which is the average number of children each woman is having. And over the last 40 years, that rate has been rapidly falling. According to the UN's current data, the world's population is due to peak in 25 years. After it peaks, it will start to go down. By the end of the century, we'll be losing 1 billion people every 20 years. This year, the world's population will hit 7 billion. In 75 years, we'll be back here again. Think about it.